Hello and welcome to Law Weekly. I'm Millicent Walker. Call it the largest gathering of lawyers this year, and you may not be wrong, as legal practitioners, very senior and younger ones, attend the Nigerian Bar Association's Annual General Conference 2022, which held here in Lagos. The opening day of the event had incisive sessions as well as goodwill messages from guests.
The president of the Nigeria Bar Association, Mr. Olumide Akpata, delivered the opening remarks, welcoming everyone to the conference.
Since this is my second and last NAGC as president of the bar, and the last time that I would have the opportunity of delivering a welcome address at an NBA conference in the capacity of NBA president, let me use this opportunity to place on record, ladies and gentlemen, that it has been the honor of my life, the greatest honor actually of my life, to have been given the privilege to pilot the affairs of our association.
Also, Chairman of the Technical Committee on Conference Planning, Mr. Erojikwe Tobena, explained the meaning of bold transitions and its application to the 62nd NBA Annual General Conference.
The word transitions speaks to our everyday realities and situation, whilst the word bold speaks to the choice that we have in dealing with our realities. We have taken the decision to be bold, and have indeed been bold in all that we have done as far as this conference is concerned.
Delivering the keynote address is the award-winning novelist Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, who applauded and expressed her admiration for the legal profession. She spoke about the seeming perception of the Nigeria Bar Association as troublesome.
Troublesome and innovative. They might seem opposed to each other, but I would argue that these two understandings of disruptive can be applied to the Nigerian Bar Association. So, troublesome. Many people who have abused their positions of power in Nigeria would describe the Nigerian Bar Association as troublesome. To me, this is worthy of applause.
She also stated that the country is in dire need of help, citing examples of tyranny in the country ranging from excesses of governments to exploiting the instrumentality of the law to oppress fellow citizens.
We sweep aside injustice in the name of peace, but it is always a fragile and hollow peace. Because as long as we refuse to untangle the knots of injustice, real peace cannot thrive.
Speaking on the 2023 general elections, she talked about the roles of lawyers in the election.
I know that the Nigerian Bar Association has been actively involved as an election observer, working with civil rights organizations, but your role in the upcoming elections will be critical, both in practical ways, such as you're already doing, but also legally in the court cases that inevitably follow elections in this country.
Other highlights include presidential candidates weighing in on Nigeria's democratic transitions 2023 and beyond.
The vice presidential aspirant of the All Progressives Congress APC, Kashim Shettima, standing in for the presidential aspirant, said Nigeria's need in this transition phase is someone with a mastery of financial capability and a leader who understands Nigeria's plight.
We need a leader who has the skill set, who has the understanding of the global economy to shepherd us in this age. I urge you all to align yourself with the aspirations of the APC candidate, fundamentally because of his competence. He has an established track record of performance.
In the same light, the presidential aspirant of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, also disclosed the possibility of taking bold steps in transitioning from the negatives to the positives. He talked about the importance of having a visionary who has the capacity and commitment to deliver.
The election you're going to have next year will not be about, remember, it is not about tribe, no religion,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 118, 1
It must be election about character, competence, capacity, and commitment to deliver.
Also in attendance is the presidential aspirant of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, who, in speaking about transitioning in the 2023 general election, stated that there are 5 issues that must be addressed in order to ensure that Nigeria becomes a better place for everyone.
Today we are more disunited as a nation. We have never experienced this level of poverty. We have never experienced this state of insecurity. We have never experienced this level of unemployment. What is important is how do we tackle these challenges? And this is where history and also experience beckon on us.
For his part, the presidential aspirant of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, ABGA, Professor Peter Umeadi, pointed out that in order to have bold transitioning, it is important for everyone to exercise voter diligence, shun political apathy, and respect the laws of Nigeria that guide and guard elections.
The only way we should expect swelling numbers at the polls is for all of us to exercise voter diligence. That is, by coming out and waiting patiently to vote at elections in 2023.
The presidential aspirant of the Social Democratic Party SDP, Prince Adewale Adebayo, was also not left out, and in expressing his views on transitioning, he spoke about the need to put an end to repetitiveness of political parties, which clearly do not solve the challenges of Nigeria.
Transitions cannot be rotation. Ashebe was right that leadership was a problem of Nigeria. But the problem of Nigeria today is rotation of the same leadership in different political parties. If you make a change, generational change, attitudinal change, you will have a bold transition that will take away all those who have been in government and bring new people. That is the vision.
The presidential candidate of the African Democratic Congress, Mr. Dumebi Kachiku, who was also physically present, stated that Nigeria needs a man who is capable enough to fix the country's problems, as a man cannot give what he does not have.
We're in a mess because we've had people who can't give what they don't have for too long. It cannot continue. I have been to war-torn countries, and Nigeria is the only country in the world where a nation is at war and her people don't know they are at war. Our soldiers are dying every day. And because we are far flung from the war, we don't realize that we are at war.
And that's not all, as there were other breakout sessions with senior lawyers contributing to the way forward for the judiciary and also sharing their thoughts on sustenance of democracy. Take a look.
The second day of the conference featured 2 past presidents of the NBA, as well as the outgoing and incoming president, as they discussed the transitions that had occurred and would be occurring in the NBA.
Firstly, we have a mandate to the lawyers in Nigeria. We have a mandate to deal with the issues of the legal profession. Then we have a mandate that encourages us to also intervene in the affairs of our society, uphold the rule of law, being the voice of the voiceless, etc., etc. My intervention really is about how we can be positioned to play both roles. So, number one, without an effective secretariat, the Nigerian Bar Association cannot function. Let us take, for example, our mandate to deal with the issues of the profession. We have a bar services department. That is the most important department in the secretariat. You can call it our customer service department. And what is important, if that department fails, the secretariat has failed. And we are focusing on that secretariat. And I have continued that mandate. And we are definitely at the cusp of ensuring that we have a secretariat that functions effectively.
Talking about regulation, we would boldly, and I hereby commit to boldly standing behind you and what you have done with respect to ensuring that it must be a body that is completely dependent on the legal profession and completely independent of the state that should regulate the legal profession in this country. That is one thing that I will boldly go after. I would also boldly maintain the welfare packages that my predecessor in office has put in place. All of them. Is it the NHRS scheme? It will be bold transition when we now, in addition to 1,000 of our members that have been subscribed on that scheme, have additional 1,000 members in the first year of this administration also subscribed on that health insurance scheme. Not only would we do that, we would also boldly, because it's a culture that we have to imbibe as members of the legal profession. We cannot afford to be going cap in hand or be putting up on our platforms solicitations for funds to look after the welfare of our colleagues. And that is why we must encourage the culture of health insurance amongst us, and that is also how we can send that as a leadership indicator to the entire country.
It used to be that once you become a bar president, or in fact a bar official, that the thinking amongst the general bar is that you are there essentially to pick money and to make money for yourself. And that's the general belief that everybody had. And so I had to address that particular issue by having to make sure that there is an accounting process and that there is a reporting process. Not only do you need to have an accounting process that is effective, that details exactly the incoming and outgoing, but the processes must also be clear as to how the money is spent. And I decided we should have those things, we should have those manuals, because that's the only way that you build credibility as far as your internal stakeholders are concerned. And I'm pleased and humbled that lawyers accepted that change. For the period that we were there, the 2 years, we never missed once having to publish the quarterly accounts. It was always going out.
Every leadership must be able to define for itself what are the challenges of the moment and how do we build on the incremental efforts that previous leaders have initiated. The bold transition idea would come in occasionally when every organization has that need to redefine or to reinvent itself and to take those bold decisions and those bold initiatives that are needed in order to prepare it for the next set of challenges. This paradigm shift is often required not only in the life of an organization, but also in the life of a country. And I think we can say clearly, our country is now at that juncture where we need those bold initiatives and transformative ideas.
Now, at the tail end of the sessions on day 3, senior advocates of Nigeria, chairman of the section on public interest and development law, SPEDO, and other distinguished panelists say it is time to take action and build strong institutions to entrench democracy. And before them was the matter in question: consequences of undermining the judiciary under our democracy.
The leadership of the NBA has been called upon to end incessant arrests and detention of suspects and other people in the country in line with the provisions of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, which has abolished arrest and detention of citizens for civil wrong and breach of contract. This and other issues formed part of a panel discussion on the third day of the conference organized by the MBA section on public interest and development law.
Recently, we have a situation where one of our colleagues brought an application for a judge to recuse herself in a matter that she has already delivered a judgment on. I said, look, in the light of this, recuse and let a different judge. It became an issue, and the lawyer is spending almost 30 days now in prison. A lawyer must be respectful to the court. The court also must understand that a lawyer is carrying out a responsibility on behalf of a client. That's supposed to be a mutual relationship.
In respect of our colleague that was brutalized by the Uyo Correctional Center, this guy had his hair shaved to the skull and his beard removed. Yes. I had a beard under the military on no occasion, and I had a chair on no occasion. Did the military feel I should be humiliated to the extent of removing my beard or hair under the military? And I wasn't the only one.
Distinguished lawyers and rights advocates give various views on the limits undermining the judiciary in a democracy, which, if not curbed, can put the nation in a quagmire.
The main issues we need to deal with, really, in terms of what undermines the effectiveness of our justice delivery system, is the problem of the independence of our courts. And when I say independence of our courts, I don't just mean whether the courts are functioning without government interference. No, that's not what I mean. I mean that our courts have lost a lot of that perception that they are independent. And I think that our courts have lost a lot of public confidence and faith in the system. And a lot of people are taking and do not find courts any more attractive vehicles for the resolution of their disputes.
We are obsessed with imprisonment. And I think part of it is that the judiciary should find time to visit places of detention. We did it in Enugu. 50 magistrates were meant to come into the Enugu custodial facility to see the asylum unit. We have found that about 10% of those who were in custodial center in Enugu were persons who are mentally ill. Some classified as civil lunatics, some classified as criminal lunatics. And just for your information, the civil lunatics did not commit any offense. Those that have been kept in terms of so-called preventive detention, based on a case law, lunacy law, a case law. Some, I found that to my shock, were in there for 24 years. 21 years, because they are mentally ill. Their families are ashamed that they are there, and they feel that they cannot keep them in mental health hospitals. And you are locked up. Meanwhile, the custodial centers and correctional service do not have the adequate facility and members to be able to deal with this issue.
Chief Ozekome, who joined virtually, also had this to say.
There's the need to amend the Constitution to separate the office of the Attorney General from the office of the Minister of Justice, so that the Attorney General can see himself as nothing but a servant of the law who is there for the public interest and not in the interest of the government. And then, more importantly, the federal government and state governments, whenever they are making their budgets, they should now make an inclusion, they should now include budgetary provisions for judgment payment, for payment of judgment debts, because they must know that judgment debts must come anyway in a dynamic society such as our own.
Meanwhile, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Femi Falana, posits that Nigeria's economy has been dollarized. He believes that citizens should not be punished for the offenses of smugglers, but that government should investigate what he called the monumental fraud going on in the fuel subsidy regime.
We must ask the government to deal with smugglers. We can't be punished for the offenses of smugglers.
Now, how can you say you are spending 6.5 trillion to import petroleum products, yet you cannot fix your refineries? They claim they are spending $1.5 billion to fix the refinery in Port Harcourt. The government has invested $2.7 billion in Dangote's refinery. With $2.7 billion, you will buy a new refinery abroad and just assemble here. So, but the government is not prepared. So we must investigate the monumental fraud going on in the so-called first subsidy.
And now to a few cases we monitored this week.
The Federal High Court in Abuja on Tuesday reversed the suspension of Joyce Odua as Secretary General of the Nigerian Bar Association, NBA. The suspension of Mrs. Odua by the NBA National Executive Committee was based on allegations of gross misconduct and dereliction of duty. Firing back to overturn her suspension from office, Mrs. Odua filed a suit before Ahmed Mohammed of the Federal High Court in Abuja, seeking the court's order reversing her suspension. On Tuesday, the judge set aside the action of the NBA's National Executive Committee, NEC, on the grounds that it constituted an affront to the rule of law and overreaching court's proceedings in the suit. Mr. Mohammed, while ruling on an application filed and argued by Ayotunde Ogunleye on behalf of Mrs. Odua, held that the NBA NEC, which gave legal effect to the General Secretary's suspension, acted in bad faith and in utter disregard for the proceedings of the court. Nigeria has ratified its membership of the Budapest Convention to enhance international cooperation in the fight against cybercrime. The National Security Advisor, Babagana Monguno, made this known in a statement by the head of Strategic Communication, Office of the National Security Advisor, Mr. Zakari Usman, on Monday in Abuja. He said that Nigeria officially ratified its membership of the convention on July 6 after it met the needed requirements, following 5 years of assiduous efforts by the government. Monguno noted that the act was aimed at guaranteeing, among others, the safe use of cyberspace and minimizing the attendant risks to online platforms and critical infrastructure with consequential negative impacts. And as an update to the story of Inibehe Effiong, who was sent to prison by the Akwa Ibom State Chief Judge Ekaite Obot, the human rights lawyer Inibehe Effiong has been released from the correctional center in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State, after spending a month in the facility for contempt of court. The lawyer was received by a coalition of civil liberty organizations, human rights activists, friends, and other colleagues. He was convicted for contempt of court by the chief of Akwa Ibom State, Justice Ekaite Obot, after the lawyer reportedly protested against the presence of armed policemen in court. He was first sent to Ikot Ekpene Correctional Center before being transferred to Uyo Correctional Center. While speaking to journalists after his release, Effiong said having been convicted for an offense he never committed, but he is coming out stronger to fight the cause of innocent Nigerians convicted unjustly.
I considered it an honor to be incarcerated for standing by the truth. You would have heard that I was convicted for contempt of court. But I might just be maybe the only person who had to be remanded as the lawyer, at least currently in this country, and was said to have been convicted without any charge preferred against him, without an opportunity to take a plea, without his offense even being disclosed, or any of the principles of fair hearing being accorded him. So for me, it is a great honor. It is a great honor to have passed through this road. But let me state it clearly and unequivocally that why I am grateful to God for this experience, because as you may have seen yourself, this has only strengthened me, this has only fortified me, and I can only feel sorry for those who thought they can break me by this incarceration. Because the Nibe that has just come out of incarceration is beaming with fire. It's beaming with fire to fight for the common people of this country. And no oppressor can quench that fire.
And that's the program this week. Please feel free to share your thoughts on any of the content we featured today. If you missed any part of it, you can find the video and past episodes on our YouTube channel. I'm Millicent Walker. Thank you for watching.